Hello?
Hello?
Sean?
Oh, yeah, hi.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm afraid I'm an atheist and I'm rational too.
But
Congratulations.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. The fellow on my left, on your right, a little while ago made a statement in response to the previous caller when he said that how would they know that the towers were going to fall? And he said kind of sarcastically, well, maybe it's because they were on fire and there was white powder coming out of the bottom. Well, a very simple fact is that has never happened in the past. Many buildings of the same type of construction
have been hit by planes and burned for 2 hours without being put out.
Have burned and have not fallen. For some reason, two of them did this particular day.
Hey, you know what? I've got video footage of a guy who jumped out of a plane without a parachute and he lived.
That has nothing to do with what I just said.
Actually, it does.
No, it really doesn't.
Actually, it really, really does.
No, it really, really doesn't. I'm talking about the buildings and the fact that it's never happened before and many buildings have burned. This one, for some reason, did. But my point is that the gentleman acted as though because it was on fire and the powder was coming out, you would know intuitively that it was in danger of falling. It had never happened before. So why would that be the case? That's not logical.
I don't know, but I sat at home and watched all this and said at least 45 minutes before anything happened, those buildings are coming down.
Well, I'm sure the other people did too, and there are probably lots of other people who were, as I was,
so
we're
in agreement.
Come down.
So we're in agreement that it was reasonable.
There are websites.
Stop. So we're in agreement that it was reasonable for some people to presume that the buildings might fall down, correct?
Yeah, and it was just as reasonable for other people to assume that they would not.
So I'm sure some people did assume they would not.
Possibly more reasonable since it had never happened before.
And so what?
That's all. Why does there have to be more? We're talking about that one particular point. The second particular point is that there is a lot of evidence.
Make a point on the first one?
I don't know that we made a point on the first one.
The point was there was no reason to say, well, obviously it was going to fall because it was on fire.
No. We just agreed that it was reasonable to presume that it might fall. You just agreed to that.
No.
Yes, you did. Rewind. Well, if you got a TiVo, rewind. I specifically asked, and you agreed.
History, it's not reasonable.
And you agreed that it was reasonable that it might happen, not that it would. We both agreed that it was reasonable that it might fall, and that it was also reasonable to assume that it might not because this hadn't happened. But this exact scenario had never been played before.
And we agreed that there were probably some people who thought that it would fall down, while there were others who did not.
It wouldn't.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. So let's go to another point, and it's not last because we can't prolong this. There are several videos out that have a lot of evidence in it, not all of which I agree with. The opinions, certainly not all of which I agree with. But there's plenty of factual, scientific evidence that supports a conspiracy theory in the sense that what we are being told happened is not correct. Beyond that, you can go many different directions.
Such as? What scientific evidence is there that refutes the standing explanation that is supported, in fact, by peer-reviewed science?
The biggest one, probably, other than the fall of WTC7,
nonsense,
is that in the sub-basements of all three buildings, almost a month later, were molten metal.
This is already explained.
I'm not sure who explained that, but if you look at I haven't watched the whole show. I'm not sure what's going on. Nor have I seen your past shows or any other previous discussion.
No, it's not explained by us. I'm not an expert in this. I'm not the one who's done the peer-reviewed scientific papers that explain the things that you're claiming you have science to refute.
Okay, you keep referring to peer-reviewed papers.
Yes.
I'm certainly not claiming I have seen those, but what I have seen...
And what I haven't seen is peer-reviewed papers that support your claim.
What I have seen is 3 or 4 websites, the contributors to which are scientists, are people with degrees under their names. They are.
So what?
They are peers.
They are
peers.
Have they published? Have they published a peer-reviewed paper?
Oh, give me a break. You're not going to say that just because something is published makes it real.
No, but I'm saying that if they haven't published a peer-reviewed... Stop. I'm saying that if they haven't published a peer-reviewed paper, that they're just a scientist making a claim which has not gone through the scientific process to determine whether or not it's credible. Meanwhile, they're standing in opposition to actual peer-reviewed papers on this. I'm not saying that they're wrong. If they're correct, this is something that needs to be demonstrated, and it needs to be done by the process. We don't get to just say, this guy's a PhD, he's an engineer, he says this is impossible, therefore now it's plausible, when all the rest of them are publishing peer-reviewed papers saying, no, 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 here's the mistake, this is wrong.
Here's the thing about peer review, which I try to touch on a lot when we talk about creationism, which is basically that getting peer-reviewed is a necessary but not sufficient condition for having something that's actually scientific. The issue with peer review is that you don't just be some guy, even some guy with a whole lot of letters after your name, because that doesn't make you right about everything. Einstein was wrong about a lot of stuff. Rather than just being some guy with name recognition who says something, you write the things down that you're trying to say, and you put them out there in a journal that are read by other scientists in the field. And before it even gets to the publishing stage, a bunch of other scientists go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and they find everything that's wrong with it, and they say, I'm sorry, we will not approve this for publishing until you fix this, take it out, or explain it better. And the issue is that people who don't bother to go through this peer-reviewed process or try and fail to go through the peer review process are demonstrating that basically they're not fundamentally serious about making some kind of scientific case for their claims. They may be some guy with a good opinion, but that doesn't make it a scientifically supported opinion.
Well, it's certainly scientifically supported in that there are another 99 of the same credentialed fellows
so there are a
agreeing with
bunch
them
more
on that website.
some guys who also haven't bothered to publish this and go through peer review.
All right, am I on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, or talking to you. I don't really care whether I'm on the air or not. They're not just some guys with letters after their name.
They are until they go through the process.
They are scientists with educations.
So what?
Sure, I have an education.
Until their idea goes through the process, it doesn't count.
What do you mean? If you just say "so what" to their being scientists, I can just as easily say "so what" to peer review because the peers.
Well, yes, you can.
Well,
you can say "so what" to peer review, and you know what? That's exactly what you're doing by accepting these people who you agree with, who haven't bothered to go through the process that would vet their idea.
You're doing the same.
No,
yes.
because no, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. One more time. You want to keep going? Is this a good dance for you?
Don't want to keep
because you're off the air now. I'm not doing the same thing because, as Russell just explained, there's a process that an idea must go through before it's considered reasonable, and that is a peer-reviewed process where other people go through looking specifically for mistakes. It's what makes science reliable. It is this process that makes it okay for people who don't necessarily know the science to accept this. It's not the PhD, it's not the credentials, it's not the organization. All those are just arguments from authority. It's the process, this peer-reviewed process, which is not infallible, but is the best we have for going through and analyzing claims to determine which claims are least likely to be wrong and therefore most justifiable to be accepted. To say that I'm doing the same thing by saying, no, I'm not going to accept something that's not peer-reviewed is just completely disingenuous. To say that that's the same as I can just disregard peer review. No, that one is a process that leads to the most reliable information, and it's specifically designed to stop us from relying on this other process, which is, hey, he's a smart guy, he's got credentials, and there's a couple other scientists who seem to agree with him. Now, the process exists for a reason. And it's this reason that underlies everything that I ascribe to in opposition to religious dogma and supernatural claims. Science is the single most consistently reliable method we have for determining an understanding of reality.